and Elsa was just like, no, bitch, no, bitch, no.
So, hey everyone, and welcome back to Spilling the Mad Tea. Just in case we haven't talked about Frozen 2 enough, and just in case you haven't watched it 500 times since it's been on Disney Plus and you're stuck inside, we're about to do an entire episode about it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We're very excited about this. How's everybody doing?
Good. I'm doing good. I got lots of extra sleep this morning because my husband was kind enough he was on night shift, so when he came in, he turned my alarm off that I had set to get up and feed the dogs and all that stuff and let me sleep a little bit longer, which was really sweet. So I feel very well rested.
I do not. I've been having weird dreams all week and like bad dreams where I wake up.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I've been like waking up every day in like a really weird mood because I've been having like a terrible dream every night.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So I'm ready for some Frozen 2 talk.
I have a splendid plate of Popeyes in front of me, so all is well. What about you? You didn't say how you were.
Oh, I'm doing good. This is day so-and-so of however long we've been staying at home, so it is what it is, and I hate that phrase so much, but
that's like the only thing that will like even remotely describe it.
So anyway, I have to say that I was so happy with Frozen 2, and I think we all have very high opinions of this. I tried to go in with very low to no expectations, but after seeing the first trailer, I was pretty hopeful that it was going to be good. What was y'all's first reaction when you watched the trailer?
I was upset. I thought it was going to be stupid. Because we all know how I feel about Frozen. And it was not a good way. I didn't care for it. I didn't love it. I watched it again after Disney Plus came about, and I was like, still don't love it. So I didn't have any expectations. I was just like, I'm just going to go watch this movie because I know that we need to for podcast purposes.
I was like really surprised by the color scheme and art direction that this movie took, even just from the trailer. I was like, well, that doesn't look like the Frozen we know. So I was excited to see what that was all about and what was happening to Elsa on that beach and why she kept like throwing herself into all these waves. So I was going to go see it.
So when I saw the trailer, I mean, I don't watch movies anyway. So I was like, whatever. But I saw it and I remember seeing her in like pants and like a power suit. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I can actually watch this one. But then by the time it came out, I like had completely lost all that motivation because I don't care about movies very much. And so I like wasn't motivated to go see it at all. I was like, I'll wait until it comes out on Disney Plus, no big deal. And then you guys all went to see it and had such high reviews and just like talked it up so much that I was like, I have to go see this. So I actually went to see it in theaters, which I very rarely do, and I was so surprised because I enjoyed it immensely. And it was maybe I should go see more movies because I was like, damn, that was good. That was like good use of money and time.
They have very much stepped up their movie game lately.
I think after I first watched the trailer, it reminded me so much of Brave. I think seeing those standing stones with the elements, like emblems on them, I was like, if this is going to be like Brave, and then like seeing how big of a scope the trailer made the story look like they were in different settings and different places and like all these like action-y kind of things were happening, and I was like, this is gonna be different. And like I was very intrigued after seeing the first trailer. Oh, also, spoiler alert, I mean, if you haven't seen Frozen 2, we're doing an entire episode about it, so yeah, there's gonna be spoilers, but it's been out for a while and it's on Disney Plus, so
yeah, if it's on the Plus, it's a free game.
We're going to break down this episode into 4-ish kind of categories. We'll probably go off on some tangents because that's what we always do. We're going to do music, art/animation, storyline/themes, and then character arcs, and then whatever else happens. So that's what we're starting with. We're going to start with music. So what was y'all's favorite song and why?
I mean, I loved all the music. There wasn't a single song that I was like if I listen to the soundtrack, I don't skip anything. I think they're all really good. But the one that I loved the most was Lost in the Woods because I love Jonathan Groff so very much. And I was so disappointed that his voice wasn't used in the first movie. You have this like vocal powerhouse that to me is like right up there with Idina Menzel and has been doing this for years. Like he knows what he's doing. He's not just an actor who can sing, you know? And not having him do a full song in Frozen was just so upsetting. And the song itself is fantastic. The first time I heard it, Cameron and I were the only ones in the theater when we went to see it because, again, I went to see it a lot later than the release date. And we giggled through the entire thing because the animation is just so over the top and ridiculous. And it's like 80s music, ballad, music video vibes. Like the more that they did, like the more like cliche things that they did with that song, the funnier it was. But then when I actually went and like watched it again and listened to the songs and to the like lyric, I liked it even more because it has a good message of like, yeah, he's upset that she like kind of blew him off, but he's also like, well, she's got her own shit that's going on. Like I need to feel like I'm lost in the woods, but that's my thing that I need to deal with. And I think that's a like big and mature kind of message for a quote kids movie.
I also learned that Jonathan Groff sang each part for the reindeers. Like he's just harmonizing with himself.
I love him. I hope that they use him in more Disney things.
I can listen to the song, but in the movie, I was just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was so over the top that it was like,
Last night, when I watched the movie, taking notes, we watched TV with our subtitles on. So it said when it starts, it says, pop ballad. And then he just kind of starts. And I was just like, oh, dear. And here we go. And then I was watching it, and I was like, there's some Queen vibes there. Mm-hmm. There's some this, there's some that. And I was just like, it's okay, but like it's still just it's not my favorite part of the movie.
Oh, I love it.
It's just not.
Yeah, I think watching the film, you're like so into the storyline, and then this is such a curveball. And for me, it like really took me out of the story, and I did not appreciate that.
Oh, see, I thought it was like a good comedic relief and like a good break of like, yeah, he's actually talking about something pretty serious, but like putting a little bit of like a comedic spin on it so that it's not quite so heavy.
I had like a very different experience with this song every time I saw it in theaters too. So the first time I went to see it on like opening night, and it was a lot of young adults in the theater, and we were all like really excited to like see it, and it was late, and it was on like a weekday because I think it came out like Thursday night. And then the second time I went to see it in the middle of the afternoon with my sister and her kids, and so it was a lot of little kids in the theater and like moms, and it got so many more laughs that day because those were like adults who grew up in the 80s like listening to those songs, and it was like it really played differently with the different audiences, and I thought that was funny.
My favorite song is Show Yourself, and to me this is like the Let It Go of Frozen 2 if you want to make that comparison. I know a lot of people have said Into the Woods, but I think it's Show Yourself.
You said Into the Woods. I think you meant Into the Unknown.
Did I say Into the Woods? Ugh, I don't even realize. Into the Unknown. Whatever.
Going into too many things.
Yeah, Show Yourself. I cried when this song came on when I saw it in theaters because I was just so immersed in the movie, and then like this song started, and you know, towards the end of the song I was just like, I can't believe this. I think it's such, I should have written notes. I think it's so powerful, I guess is the word I'm looking for. She goes there searching for the answer to why she is the way she is and like what she's supposed to do with her life. And it starts off, you know, she's like, show yourself, like looking for the answer, and then comes to realize that like she's had the power all along and all this stuff. And it's like, show yourself that you can do these things. And I think it's just a really cool message, and it's really powerful. And the animation for Show Yourself is gorgeous, and that's like what I wait when I've been rewatching the movie. Like that is the part that I like wait for. I'm like, if I could just get to this part, like that's what I want to see every time that I watch or rewatch the movie.
It's very deep, very deep.
Yeah, I love Elsa. She's my favorite. So like for this song, I was just like, yes, this is fantastic.
It's a great, like, song to pump you up, too. You know, like, I listened to it on the way to work the day that I had my interview for my big promotion, and I was like, I've got this, Elsa! If you're making, like, a pep talk playlist, that should be on there.
Yeah, it's very powerful. When I was watching it last night, I was just like, there's so much stuff going on around her. She's just, like, singing her little song and being a super powerful
badass woman, yeah.
And it's just amazing.
Well, speaking of songs to cry to, I think the first moment I like teared up in this movie was when Idina Menzel sings Into the Unknown and just like hits all those powerful notes. It's just beautiful.
I try to sing that song all the time, and I'm just like,
no, you
nope,
gotta
not
leave
happening.
it to the eighth wonder of the world. She's amazing. And the second time I cried was when the North Uldra all sang a cappella. The na 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 hey na. It's just it was like I had chills, I had goosebumps, and I got sweaty. It was just beautiful.
It felt like a spell.
Oh yeah, it was magic. But I think my favorite song in the movie is The Next Right Thing. And I know Katie's not a big fan of this section of the movie, so we can agree to disagree.
That's fine. Weirdly, Stephanie and I agree on most things, so it's very unusual that we both disagree on each other's favorite songs from this film.
Kristen and Bobby Lopez talked about the inspiration for this song on a podcast that Disney put out called Inside Frozen 2, which I would recommend if you liked this movie, go take a listen to. It's really, really cool. They talk to a bunch of the like core team that worked on this film, and you get to pick inside their heads, and it's very good. Mm-hmm. The inspiration for the song came from two of the core team members on the Frozen team. Two separate families lost children since they started together on the first movie. And the Lopezes were really inspired by like the strength that they showed in simply being able to get out of bed after experiencing something so tragic. And they thought Anna would be the perfect person to show us what to do when you've lost everything. And sometimes it's making a choice to sit up, another choice to put one foot on the floor, knowing it's going to be so painful, putting another foot on the floor, knowing it could kill you. And maybe you are able to make those steps to the kitchen and make yourself a sandwich to get through the next hour. They wanted to break down the grief. And I know I've experienced a time when getting out of bed and having a normal day has been impossible. I did find myself saying, okay, today you don't have to leave the house. You don't have to leave your room, but sit up today. Shower today. And slowly it became easier to take more steps and do more things. So I really connected with this song because it was a lesson that I learned on my own, and it took a long time, and it was really hard. And I keep thinking if I had this song when I was a kid, it might have really made a difference.
I really like this song, and I think it's especially relevant right now when, everything's so uncertain. I think the line that, like, I won't look too far ahead, it's too much for me to take, like, as someone with anxiety, like, when I heard that, I was like, that makes so much sense. And, like, it's kind of something that I've tried to adopt since hearing the song, which I know that Frozen 2 is not a therapist, but hearing that line,
this mantra, this line came from Kristen Bell, who's, like, pretty open about her experience with anxiety. And, like, she did interview saying she's like this is what I have to tell myself every day. Like, I can't like look too far ahead. Like, I just have to do the next right thing, and I can do that. I can do one thing, and then maybe I'll do the next one, and then the next one. But it's much easier to like break it down and focus on something small,
one by one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. It's a very powerful, like, turning point in the movie, too. Just even though it's at the end, it's just like, and look what she did after being able to get up and move forward.
So it's not that I don't like this song. I think it's a beautiful song. It's got a great message. I agree with all of that. I don't like that it was, I don't like that whole part of the movie. I think it's perfectly fine to deal with something that heavy and that, like, big, but the fact that they, like, kill, quote, these two characters and have her go through all this just for those two characters to be totally fine. And like, I that part didn't sit well with me, and I don't like that this is the last song in the movie. Like, I feel like there should have been something else afterwards. Like, it just, for me, it made everything end really, really heavy, and I felt like I got really into the emotion of that scene, and like, it just, I didn't shake it off, because that was pretty much the end, and it was like, oh, okay, everything's fine. It, like, you know, to me, it didn't, that part of the movie bugs me, because I feel like it doesn't wrap up well. It's just like, oh, just kidding, she's fine, he's fine, like, everything's fine. And so, for me, like, that, there was a break, and I love the movie up until that point, because at that point, I feel like there's this break of this, like, really serious, heavy, like, grief and all this, and then it's just, like, she deals with it, you know, in the aspect of, like, you know, get up, do one thing, all of that, which is a great message for people going through grief, but then it's, like, what happens after that? Like, you know, I feel like they needed to show what happens after that, instead of just being like, she gets up, she does all this stuff, and then her sister's fine, you know? I didn't like that part. I like the song. Yes, I like the song. I just don't like where it's at, and I don't like that there's no resolution afterwards.
I can see that. Makes sense. Because it's like, you did all this, and it's a very heavy thing, but for what?
Yeah.
Because she's there. Yeah, I can see that.
And, like, as an adult, I can look at it and understand that, like, this is a movie. They couldn't kill Elsa, you know? But as a kid, I would just worry that as a kid, I would think that, like, you have these big, heavy things, but then everything's gonna be fine. Sometimes it's not fine, and I think that would have been a better message. That's just me, though. Just my opinion.
I see your point.
Okay, so my song that I chose, it's just a feel-good song, and I always find myself coming back to listen to it in the car. Some Things Never Change. It's very cute, lighthearted. But I think the reason why is I was listening to it on my way home one day, and I was just listen. Then all of a sudden she starts talking about the big stone wall that never falls, and I'm like, why are you talking about that? Huh? Because it's like a big thing, and that's what, I mean, the stone wall has to fall to make the movie be what it is.
I love the irony of this song. It's such a cute, feel-good song, but it also sets up, like, the whole, like, it is foreshadowing the song, you know?
And so I was like, oh, wow. And so then that night I, like, came home and I watched the movie again, and I was like, okay, girl. But it's really cute and fun, and I like the whole scenes of everything. Like, it's very pretty. The song is very pretty, like, the part of the movie. So that's why I like it.
So how do you guys feel like this music in Frozen 2 compares to the music in Frozen?
It does not. Not even close.
Like, I think Let It Go is the only one that you can compare with any of the rest of the music from this film. But every other song from the first, it doesn't compare at all.
Don't you love, like, the song between Anna and Hans, and, like, when Anna's singing through the palace?
Not as much as I like any of these songs.
Like, that is cute as hell.
It's cute. However, I still don't think that it's as good.
I think that the music in Frozen 1 was very iconic when it came out, because, you know, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing about it or seeing children singing it. Like, it was just everywhere, and it was very cute. And I feel like there was more music in the first one than there was in the second. I haven't actually, like, looked at the soundtracks to compare that, but I think the messages in the songs in the second movie are so much more powerful than the messages in the first movie's music. And I feel like there's more, especially with, like, All Is Found, I could see people singing that to their children for, like, years.
Like
I think
lullaby,
that's such a pretty lullaby. I love that song so much, and I feel like it crosses over into not just being a kid's soundtrack song, you know? Whereas, like, I don't know, Let It Go is always going to be, that's a Disney song, like, for sure. But I feel like there's more universality? That's not a word. I feel like the songs in Frozen 2 are more universal, and more people can enjoy them and listen to them.
I think that they're like that, though, too, because they were geared towards older kids now. Like, older, you know, teenagers, older, you know, not kids.
Oh, I noticed something. So in Some Things Never Change, when Olaf says, and you all look a little bit older, he, like, looks directly into the camera, you know? So he's, like, looking at the audience, because the first Frozen came out 6 years ago. So it's like, yeah, you all look a little bit older because it's been 6 years, but you're still watching this movie.
Cute. I didn't notice that. That's adorable.
I had a real hard time. I feel like these songs were really driven by like the actors who were singing them. Like I got the vibe that they were like, oh, we need a song for Josh Gad, and oh, we need a song for Jonathan Groff because we didn't give him one in the first one. And I just felt like all of the songs didn't like carry the story forward. Like when Olaf's singing in the woods, I don't know if you took that song out of the movie and you took Lost in the Woods out of the movie, I think you'd still have the same story. I didn't need them.
I agree with Olaf. I think Olaf songs really in both movies, I think, are just kind of they wanted Olaf to have a song. But I think that Kristoff's song and the fact that like a lot of characters had like their quote song, I think even if it didn't drive the storyline, I think it did drive the character arc. And for me, that's as important. Because, like, we don't have a strong male character like Kristoff in any Disney film. You know? So, like, that's why I love his song, and that's why I love his character arc in this movie.
What was Olaf's song name? I forgot.
When I'm Older.
Yeah. That didn't make sense because nothing really gets better.
Yeah, I didn't need that. Like, I get that it was exploratory of the forest, and you got, like, introduced to the Gale, but meh.
I also think that song is humor for adults because adults know that things don't get easier or more understandable when you're older. I think it was just like some humor for adults who were watching the movie to say, like, yeah,
That's what you
that's
think.
definitely not true. Yeah. It's totally a kid's perspective that when I get older, I'll understand everything and everything will make sense. And I'll be able to do everything that I want and, like, all these things. And I think that's an interesting dynamic between, like, the kid's perspective of watching When I'm Older and the adults hearing that and being like, haha, joke's on you, sucker. Like, that's not true.
I mean, and that's just the cool thing, too, is that you can listen to one song and depending on who you are or where you're at in your life, it can mean one thing or it can mean the other. And, like, that one definitely is one that you can listen to and be like, haha, yeah, right. And then kids like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So on the full soundtrack, there are all the songs that didn't make it. And there was a second Olaf one called Unmeltable Me that I thought would have been way cuter and way more appropriate, and I liked a lot better than the one that made it into the movie.
I haven't listened to that.
I mean, but they're both still really fluff songs. I just feel Olaf just doesn't get serious songs, which is sad. And I would have loved for him and Anna to have sung a grief song, and then he died. That would have been fun. I mean, you know, not fun, but yeah, but I agree. I think Olaf's songs are kind of pointless, but I did like Unmeltable Me better because it also explained why the hell he's not melting now. Instead of just being like, how's your permafrost doing? You know, it wasn't one line in a movie, it was a whole song about it. So that at least that explained more than the one that got put in the movie.
So my last question for the music section: how many times have you been walking around your house and suddenly burst out with a
so many times?
I did it more
Every
at
time I stub
Rachel's
my toe,
house than I do
now.
at my own house. Yes.
I was like, don't y'all remember my Christmas party?
Yeah. That's what I use to call Ollie down for dinner in the evening, because she doesn't like the sounds of us cooking, so she comes upstairs and sits in her chair, and I'll put her dinner down, and I'll go, and she just comes downstairs, and it's pretty great. It's even greater when Jerry does it. It's
man.
Get
on video.
One day I got a Snapchat from Cameron of him. He was on night shift, so he woke up at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was at work, and I get a Snapchat, and I go to look at it, and it's him literally just like, you can see it come around the corner, and he walks into the bathroom and like points the camera towards himself, and he's in like bedhead and like just in his underwear, and he just goes, ah! It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
It gets stuck in your head.
Yeah, it's gonna be stuck in my head all day now, just because we were talking about it. The girl who like recorded that, I'm sad I didn't write down her name, but the like artist behind that like soundbite,
Aurora.
Thank you. Isn't she like actually Norwegian?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like her whole country is so proud of her for that. that's like she's their star right now. They're just like, yeah, that's Aurora. She's actually from here. Which I think is so sweet.
I'm glad that they got someone who has like the heritage that the movie is portraying, you know?
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? It's so easy with Anchor.
Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use.
And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what we're doing right now by reading this ad. We struggled to find the right way to distribute our podcast, and Anchor made it quick, easy, and free. We're on platforms we had never heard of, and that's all thanks to Anchor doing the hard work. So, if you have been thinking about starting your own podcast, head on over to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start.
We're going to move on to art/animation. Pop question for you guys, which it's not very pop because you've probably already read this question before. Which classic Disney animated movie inspired the look of the Enchanted Forest for Frozen 2?
I have 2 guesses.
Okay, what's your first guess? Guess.
Be
Wow.
our guest.
My first guess was Sleeping Beauty because you love Island Earl. And
Ding, 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 ding.
yeah.
Ding, ding.
Well, your first guess.
The first time that they like went into the Enchanted Forest, I was like, this is like Sleeping Beauty. They referenced Ivan Earl, like they totally went with this. And then when I was watching the extras on the Blu-ray, they were like, yeah, and we were very heavily inspired by the work of Ivan Earl on Sleeping Beauty. And I was like, I knew
I
it.
was like, ah!
And I knew that if you could work in an Ivan Earl trivia fact into this episode, you would. So-
Yeah. Yes. Any episode that I can put Ivan Earl's work in, I'm going to put it in there. What was your second guess?
Pocahontas, because of all of like the leaves and the wind.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's a good guess, too.
Pocalulu.
I said guessed again. What is wrong with me?
I have not.
Guess.
I didn't have any guesses.
No, I didn't either. I was like, Frozen.
That's okay.
2.
Now you know the answer. So, do you guys have any particular scene or scenes that you found to be super beautiful or just very, very well animated?
Yes, the whole movie.
Girl, get out of here.
When I read this,
Could you be a bit more
but really when I
specific?
read this prompt, I was like, all of it. It would be much easier to have asked what scenes did you not find particularly beautiful and well animated.
Yeah.
But I already talked about mine, but it's Lost in the Woods, because it's so funny. And it's just so hits the nail on the head of just like cheesy, over the top humor. I love it. I love it a lot.
I wonder what the animators were like when the story writer or screenwriter came up and they were like, we need you to animate an 80s power ballad for
Right.
Kristoff and a bunch of reindeers. So work on that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine them being like, oh, okay.
Well, they took a lot of Queen inspiration.
I'd like to believe that they were like, yeah, this is different. Okay, yeah. And we're really excited to make an 80s animated music video.
Well, they did very well.
They
If
did.
that's what they were going for.
Mm-hmm.
Anything involving like the Enchanted Forest scenes, and like especially the ones where the fire spirit was going through and like putting everything like on fire and jumping around and all this, and Elsa was just like, no bitch, no, and I just like, it was gorgeous. It was so pretty, and then all of a sudden it's just like she's right there with him, and he just comes and just like snuggles down in her hands, and it was just so cute. But that was probably my favorite because there was just so much going on and so much going this way, that way. It was beautiful.
The first time I went to see this in theaters, I sat next to this like group of guys who looked, I don't know, maybe like college age. There was like 5 of them, and the whole time they were like, oh my god, it's beautiful. Do you see that? Oh my god, it's beautiful. Oh my god, look at that. Look at that. And I was kind of surprised. And then I was hearing them the whole movie, and I feel like it really got to me because the whole movie I was like, oh my god, it really is beautiful. You guys are right. Oh my god, look at that. And they really got me. But I think the scene that they freaked out the most in, and so subsequently I also really enjoyed, was Elsa and the water knock. It was just so dark and scary and sparkly and beautiful. I just thought it was stunning, that whole sequence with her riding on the knock to the glacier. Ugh, so good.
It's very intense as well, and I'm just like always like, ooh, 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 like the whole time.
Like you hold your breath when Elsa
Yes.
goes underwater until she can like pop back up. You're like,
Yeah, so good. Kelly, what was yours?
I picked the scene where Elsa pulls the water memories out of the shipwreck.
Oh,
Like when she puts
yeah.
her hands down and those, it looks photorealistic. It doesn't look, until it pans back to Elsa, it could be a live action movie.
Yeah.
It's so detailed and so well animated that when I saw that, I was like, no way. It's just so cool. And I just think it's gorgeous. Like each of those water droplets has to be animated, and those water droplets have reflections of the scenery around them in it, and it's just so cool.
That's such a cool scene, and that's a very like important scene for the movie too. Like it's so amazing, and it just lets everybody know, hey, this is what really happened to their parents.
And I feel like frame by frame in this movie, you can see the passion and the attention to detail that went in from the animators. But especially, you're right, in that scene where it's just like, whoa, that detail is insane.
I know that I talk about this all the time, like I spoke earlier. You know, Ivan Earl's artwork in Sleeping Beauty made that one of the most beautiful animated films of all time. And I think that maybe for like this generation, Frozen 2 could take that place. Moana is also very beautiful, and I do love the animation in Moana, but I don't know. The detail in Frozen 2 kind of puts it not exactly on the same level as Sleeping Beauty in my head, but like there's a staircase and it's just placed up below Sleeping Beauty.
Side note, I think it's so amazing that now like Moana was so big for like, you know, just an allotted amount of time, and now it's just like when you said it, I was like, damn, I hadn't thought about her in a minute.
Oh, I think
Like,
about Moana at
'cause-
least twice a day. I love that movie. Both Frozen movies just pale in comparison to Moana for me. I love Moana.
Moana and Coco are very beautifully animated films. And I think they're only just going to get better and better. Especially, I think when Toy Story 4 came out, and I saw the amount of detail that went into that, and like the textures and stuff, and the way the lighting was in Toy Story 4, it kind of like shifted my thought process, and I was like, oh, these films are just going to get more and more and more beautiful as, you know, technology develops.
Well, and I
so.
know we're going to talk about it later
just
in
think
the
that's
week,
really cool.
but like when we were watching Onward yesterday, I was like, holy shit. Like this was, because I like told Josh, I was like, this is, I don't know if this is the TV, because like now we have like a new TV and like everything is catered towards this new TV, you know, resolution or whatever. But I was like, this is like real with like animated figures. Because you know that there's not real elves in real life. But I was just like, wow.
Which we were just talking about this, but my next point is like the amount of detail that the animators were able to put into the costumes and scenery is astounding, like we just said. Like from the snowflakes to the clothing. Do you guys have a specific detail that stands out to you? I have two to talk about. So
No. All of it was like, I don't think we share your eye for those kind of things. Your artistic brain tunes into them much easier. So for me, I just the whole thing was just like, like to me, all of it was this amazing detail. So please enlighten us.
I just have two. They're kind of small. So the North Ultra people, they have hexagonal buttons on their clothing. You can like that. The hexagon is a motif like throughout their clothing and details and stuff on their belts and things like that. And at the end on Anna's coronation dress as she becomes queen, her buttons are hexagons with the Arendellian crocus flower that's on their flag inside the hexagon. So it combines like the North Uldra and the Arendelle heritage there. And I just think that's a really cool, really tiny detail that you might not notice.
I was trying to look for it last night, but at that point, that's when I was like, I'm tired. So I'm going to have to probably watch it again to see it, because I remember you were saying something about it the other day. Damn, I got to watch it again.
Oh, darn.
The second detail that I noticed was Finn's antlers. I went back and watched Frozen 1, and in I keep calling it Frozen 1 when it's just Frozen, but you know what I'm talking about. His antlers are just antlers because it's in the summer, spring-ish time. And in Frozen 2, Sven's antlers are covered in velvet, indicating that it's like fall-ish going into fall. And because I read that caribou shed their velvet like mid-September going into like later fall. And I think that that's a cool detail that they included, like how reindeer / caribou would actually be in the wild.
Good job, Disney.
Well, I gotta go watch them both.
Fun fact about reindeer. Santa's reindeer are all female because they're always portrayed with their antlers, and female reindeer hold their antlers for longer than the male. By Christmas time, most males have shed their antler.
Yeah, so those are the two details that I just found really cool, and something like that they didn't have to put in the movie. Like, I don't think anybody would have noticed if Sven didn't have velvet or something like that.
My people would have
but
noticed.
It's just yeah, the zookeepers of the world would probably have noticed.
Well, if you know anything else, I'd love to know some more of those little cute little things.
Does anybody have any Easter eggs that they would like to point out?
No, I would love to be the kind of person who knows all the Easter eggs and things, but I'm watching the movie. I'm not paying attention close enough to details, and I always miss them. Mm-hmm. It's upsetting.
Well, I missed, like, mine is not exactly an Easter egg per se, but like the first time I watched it, I didn't catch it. But then when Stephanie and I went and watched it, like I remember I said something to her. I was like, oh, "Look at that! That is wow!" And so, like when you watch it the first time, it's when she's singing "Into the Unknown," and you see the giants, and you see the water thing, horse thing. Anyway, but you see all that like flying around, and it's just like.
It's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything to you. You're like, oh, cool colors.
I didn't even see anything out of those designs. And then the second time when Stephanie and I went, I was like, whoa.
That was fire. That was wind. That was the horse. Those are the giants. And we were like, I get it now. I get it. Like it made sense.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to watch it a second time.
It was really amazing.
You notice more that the storytellers were feeding you that you didn't pick up on the first time.
So I have a couple of Easter eggs. At the beginning of the movie, when Anna and Elsa are playing with the snow, there's Baymax, Dumbo, and Snow White, I believe, that are made out of little snow. They're little snow figures.
I think I did see Baymax.
Yeah. And then during Show Yourself, after your Show Yourself, I guess, when Elsa's walking through all the memories, Aduna asks Agnar like what he's reading, and he says some new Danish author. And there's a picture of Ariel on the cover of the book, and it's Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid. Like, that's the book that he's reading.
Cute.
That's cute.
Did he also write The Snow Queen?
Yes, he did.
So there you go. That ties all that in together. I'm sure there's a lot of other Easter eggs that I haven't found yet, but I just think those are interesting. Let's move on to storyline / themes in the movie. So did you guys have any preconceived notions of what the storyline of Frozen 2 would be? Did you have anything that you thought they might follow along with?
I just knew Elsa was going to be a badass, but that's about it.
The only rumor I had heard was that Elsa was finally going to get a girlfriend, and then she didn't, and I was disappointed.
People put her and Honey Marin together, like, a lot.
But before that, it was like pictures of like young Aduna. So that they were like, that's going to be her girlfriend in the forest. But I had heard interviews with the creator saying that they like really didn't want to make a sequel unless they had like a story that needed to be told. They were like very clear that like they were not just going to make a sequel for the sake of making a sequel, but they kept wondering, like at the end of the movie, they were like, Anna's really happy. She's got everything she wants. She's got open gates. She's got like her family. But did Elsa really get her happily ever after? Is she really happy at the end of Frozen? Not really. And then everyone kept asking like where she got her powers and where their parents were going when they died. So they were like, that's a story. There's a story there. So I think that's what we got.
And then she was finally happy.
My answer to this question kind of leads me into my next question. I just thought it was going to be epic. You know, they're not just in Arendelle, like, doing these things in Arendelle. Like, when you see when you saw the trailer, it was just, like, on such a larger scope than the story of Frozen. And I also really enjoyed that they leaned into these fantasy and folklore elements.
I thought the representation of like the four spirits seemed like mismatched and random. I'm like, why is there a salamander and then like the horse, but then there are like these like they just didn't match to me. The wind was just wind, but then the fire was a salamander. I was like, this just seems weird. It just seemed like they wanted to make a cute salamander to make a cute salamander. But then I learned that all of these things really come from like Scandinavian folklore, and Disney like didn't just make them up. They associate salamanders with fire because when people would bring in wood for their fireplace, salamanders would crawl out from the fire. So those became associated with each other. I was like, okay, there's like reasoning behind all of these things. They didn't just make up a water horse. Like the water knock actually is a long-standing folklore.
I mean, Disney rarely does anything by accident, so that makes sense, but I'm glad that you shared that with us, because I would never have known.
I kind of thought it was a bit weird that Elsa was the fifth spirit when she has ice powers, and ice is water, and there's already the water, but I guess it kind of all came together in the end. That was like one weird thing about the storyline. I was like, well, she's just got frozen water powers, but, you know.
That part bothered me, too. I was like, you made this whole story about how Elsa got her powers, and it still seems like there are a few loose ends. And I was like, that was the whole point of this thing. And it's not like a very clear resolution.
She was born with them because Aduna was Northuldra and Agnar was there. And
so, yeah, here, have some ice. Yeah.
Or was like, there's some kind of prophecy that was like, the first child born of Northuldra and Arendelle, like, they will be the one to free the forest. I don't know. I feel like there should have been a bit more reasoning behind why she was born with these powers, other than just like, that's who your parents are, so we're gonna
give you some kind of thing.
Right, because like, Anna has the same parents, so where's her power at?
Well, they said that it takes two sisters to make a bridge, or something like that.
Okay, but that still don't give her powers.
It's like Elsa has the magical stuff and Anna has like the willpower.
So, on that note, is there anything that you guys would change about the storyline?
I would absolutely give Anna firepower.
Anna can turn into a salamander. That's what her power is.
I would take out the whole proposal thing. I don't think this story needed that at all. For me, this was like a story of like Elsa like finding out why she has her powers. And so like, I really don't give a shit why Kristoff wants to propose right now. It seems so irrelevant.
That's fair.
It's like, we didn't talk about her enough, so let's add some of her shit in there, when the whole last movie was like, she's falling in love with a man that she just met.
But again, if you listen to the songs that didn't make it, there is a really cute proposal one where he's trying to propose and he can't get it out, and she ends up proposing, and it's really cute.
But I feel like that could have been like a short. After this all happened, they go through this journey, then go for it. Make a whole movie about it.
Because let's be honest, the story that Anna wants to save Elsa, and she wants to this, and she wants to that. Elsa gonna come before Kristoff any day. That's what it's a huge part.
But it also made it abundantly clear that he was like, I get that. That's cool.
Which was cool. I like that.
We're moving into like the themes of the movie kind of thing, not so much the whole storyline. I thought it was really cool that Olaf is like, we call this controlling what we can when things feel out of control. And I think that ties in really well with the message of the next right thing. You can control one thing, and if you can do that one thing, then that will lead to the next thing. So I thought that was really cool. And like an overarching message of the whole movie is control what you can and try not to think about what you can't control, because that will drive you insane.
I'm going to bring Kristoff back into it because I feel like he's getting a lot of hate. But when Kristoff comes to, quote, rescue her from when she's running from the giants, and he's just like, I'm here, what do you need? I think that ties into that as well. Of like you're not coming in to save the day. You're, what can I help? How can I help you control? Like, what is it that I can do?
I think we can learn a lot from that. Like, I feel like that's what a lot of it needs to be outside of that. Anything that's going on in life, I think that it should be somebody else saying, hey, how can I help you do this? Not, hey, I want to fix this for you. Because you have to be able to like take the reins and help yourself. You can't always depend on somebody else to do it for you.
I talked about this earlier, but the whole things making sense when you're older, this movie like put that completely to rest. Olaf sang about it, but you know, Anna and Elsa are older. They're in these positions of power, and they still are like, I don't know what to do. Like, what can I do? And it just kind of proves that, like, no, things don't make sense when you're older. I think one of the biggest issues in this movie and themes is, I guess you would call it imperialism, putting down native groups and native peoples in favor of what you think is right. They have magic and all that kind of stuff, or they use magic or work with magic, and like that can't be trusted and all that kind of thing, and like putting them down because they are different, and that superiority complex that comes with being of a certain race. And I think that's a really cool message to put into a kids movie. I don't know if it's done better than Pocahontas, or if...
I think it's done better than Pocahontas. I think it's done more relevant to today's climate than Pocahontas would be. You know, it's very like, just because your, you know, parents or in this case grandparent or whatever was this, you know, person who took advantage of other people and of other like cultures, and you don't have to be like, you can break that cycle and you don't have to be that way.
I think that it's an important message to put into a film. Kids understand a lot more than adults give them credit for. And I totally think that kids would look at this and be like, there's no difference between, you know, these people. Like, they're people.
Yeah, I think this movie had very mature themes to it that we haven't really seen in other stories. And I love that.
So to put an kind of end on this little category, do you have any favorite humorous moments from the movie? Anything that just made you kind of like laugh out loud?
Olaf's whole recap of Frozen is the most clever thing that has ever been put into any Disney movie ever. It's so funny, and it was one of like the last things to be put in the movie. The directors just like weren't happy with the entering of the woods. They're like, it's not really coming together. And they were like, Josh, do you mind just coming in to record like this thing? And most of it's ad-libbed, and it's just brilliant. Like, the animators did such a funny job.
Just love Josh Gad.
My favorite line is when he's like, oh, at least they have their parents. And then he's like, their parents are dead. It's just so funny. It's such a serious thing for him to say, and it's just...
And when he's like, oh, I love you. Just kidding, I'm the villain.
Yeah, I love the reactions, too, to the storytelling. When he's like, oh, Anna, no.
It felt like a little kid retelling the story. Like, I could see Presley retelling the story that way, you know?
I have two moments that are also Olaf moments. When after they play charades, Olaf's like, Sven's gonna read me a story, and then he starts talking about Kristoff, and he's like, I just need to go talk to some rocks about my family, or something like that. That made me crack up. And then another kind of small moment from Olaf is when the fire spirit starts running around the trees, and he goes, this will all make sense when I'm older. Every time I see it, it's such a small and quick moment, but every time I see it, I'm like, that is hilarious. He's just like,
I feel like we talked a lot of shit earlier about how Olaf songs aren't really needed and all this stuff, but Olaf makes the movie.
And then the whole Samantha thing. Samantha was an ad-libbed line that he just added in. It blew up. Everybody was like, Samantha?
Yeah, in the time between when it came out and when I went to actually see it, I was like, who the fuck is Samantha?
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, that was a big driving factor of me finally going to the theater and watching this. I was like, I gotta find out who the hell Samantha is.
Yeah, I was like, is Samantha the name of the salamander?
Yeah, I was like,
who is Samantha?
Is this Elsa's girlfriend? What's happening?
So let's move on to character arcs. I didn't want to say who do you like more, Anna or Elsa, because you don't have to choose between two women can exist in a movie and you don't have a preference for them. But do you feel like you relate more to Anna or Elsa?
Anna, for sure.
So I think in the first movie, I related to Anna more. And Elsa was more aspirational, as she was like, I'm gonna go be my own person and do my own thing. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. But in this movie, I found Elsa to be more relatable as she's learning to love herself, and Anna's actions to be more aspirational as she constantly proves like how brave she is and is like very courageous throughout this whole thing. So my like relatability kind of swapped from movie to movie.
I have loved Elsa since Frozen. Like, she is my girl. To me, especially in the second movie, Anna kind of was annoying to me when she just insisted upon being there with Elsa when she was just getting in the way and putting herself in danger and stressing Elsa out even more.
Nope, sorry. If you don't want me running into fire after you, don't run into fire.
I don't know. Elsa had the situation kind of under control, and then Anna put herself in the situation. Yes, she was putting out the fire. She was. I don't know. I do like her at the end of the movie, when she decides that she's the one that has to break down the dam and stuff like that.
I feel the exact opposite. I felt like in the second movie, she annoyed the piss out of me. In fact, because Cameron and I watched it in an empty theater, we were like talking to each other the whole time and making comments about things. And I was like, Elsa's being so selfish. Like, all she's thinking about is herself. Like, to me, you don't run off away from your family and leave them worried about you. And then you end up dying alone. Like, the whole time I was just like, Elsa is being so selfish. I know this is like a journey of self-discovery, and that's fine. But like, you brought your sister into it already. Like, you can't just decide halfway through that you're gonna run off on your own and like ditch her. And I thought it was really selfish, and she got on my nerves.
I see it from both sides of the spectrum, though. Like, I know that, like, sometimes you do have to leave away and get away from people to, like, really be able to maneuver through it, whatever you're going through. So maybe that's kind of how she felt. But, like, I also get it from the other point of view where it's like, you're my sister. I want to fucking help you. Like, let me help you. But, like, sometimes when you're going through something, you just can't. Like, you have to do it yourself.
But I think this is like representative of what real life is like. Like, if you interact with loved ones, they're going to want to be a part of like this situation you're dealing with. They're going to want to be part of like the solution. But you might also be struggling with like, no, I want to do this on my own. And so I think it's a good representation of what would happen in real life.
I will say that I like aspects of both characters, but I do relate more to Elsa and the feelings that she has over the feelings that Anna.
See, I'm the opposite. I am very much more like...
Yeah, I'm an Anna.
Anna's, yeah, I get her motivation behind what she does, and I get her, and to me, the choices Elsa makes does not make sense to me. But that's okay. Everybody's an Anna, and that's why we work well together.
I think in Frozen 2, as much as I hate to admit it, like, I deal with things kind of like Elsa did. Like, I kind of like to recluse and kind of think about it and do it myself. And then maybe I'll talk to somebody about it, and then maybe I won't.
I have a thing where when someone suggests something or says I should do something this way, I can't. My mind just shuts down and I'm like, well, I'm never going to listen to that. I am not going to do that.
Accurate.
So I relate to Elsa on that way of like, I want to do things my way. And if someone says, oh, well, you should do this way, I'm just like, no, I'm not.
I just feel like we had a whole movie in the first Frozen about why Elsa needs to let people in. And then she turns around and does this, like, did you learn nothing? You don't do this stuff by yourself.
It's okay to disagree. We can disagree. So let's move on to character arcs. Elsa's character arc over the whole movie of Frozen 2 was accepting herself and her powers. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't really write down too much for this because I got tired of writing the outline at this point in time. So this is just a discussion. We can just talk about it. Anna becoming her own person, not realizing that she doesn't have to have Elsa or anybody to make the right choice and do the next right thing. That was my kind of take from her character.
I'm glad that she learned that.
And she becomes queen. Yeah. Olaf realizing things will change and are definitely going to change, but love stays around and love can bring you back and water has memory.
But let's talk about the most important character arc, which is Kristoff.
Girl.
Katie, you take it away, because he seems like he is your man.
He is not
He's
mine.
seriously, like, I really think that he is the best realistic male character in Disney. He learned, he does his own thing. He doesn't have to come through and be the hero, but he comes through and helps. Like, the relationship that he has with Anna is just like so. It's a pure relationship. Like it's honest and it's good, and he has to learn that, and he has to learn that it's okay for them to go and do their own separate things, and that sometimes him being supportive is stepping back. And I love him, and I love his character arc, and I think it was really important to the movie.
I like that, though. I like that he is, like, comfortable enough with his relationship with her and how they feel about each other, and I think this is how all men should be, that they let their woman do what the fuck they want to do and, like, do things on their own, and then just be there, like, as a person that just pushes them and helps them.
But he also has this, like, vulnerability and this, like, insecurity that he shows, you know, when he does have his Into the Woods song. What's it called? It's Into the Woods.
Lost
You've
in
gotten me
the
confused.
Woods.
Lost in the Woods. Thank you. Into the Woods.
We're gonna have to watch that movie now.
It was horrible, and I will never watch it again.
But he has his whole solo where he does, like, show this vulnerable side of, does she not love me? Does she not want me? And, like, has to work through that. And I think that's also really important to show kids, and especially, like, young boys, that it's okay to be a little insecure, and it's okay to, like, be vulnerable. And I love that. I love everything about his character in this movie.
Okay, to start wrapping up this episode, do you guys want a Frozen 3?
No.
No.
I'd be
I
okay
would
with
not
one.
mind a Kristoff and Sven movie. A Kristoff and Sven and Olaf, like, buddy movie. I think that'd be fun. But I wouldn't want another Frozen 3.
I mean, as much as I loved this one, and as much as it, like, kind of changed my mind and turned everything around for me to love Frozen, what would it be? I don't.
Time will tell. Yeah, I could go for another one because I think they did such a good job with this one. Like, I trust them to do another. I think they would do it if they had, like, a good enough story and a good enough reason. And I mean, we've got 4 Toy Stories, so I don't see Frozen.
But we didn't need more than 3. That's
No,
a
I
whole
agree.
different conversation.
But I think there could be more story to tell after this.
I wouldn't mind it. I would like to see other original things come out before another Frozen 3, but
I mean,
wouldn't hate it.
they could dive into more of the Anna and Kristoff thing. I mean, that would be another storyline to kind of see what happens.
I want Elsa to have a girlfriend, so I take back everything I said. I want a Frozen 3 because I want Elsa to have a girlfriend.
Oh, God.
it's just Elsa and Honeymare, and that's the whole
Yes.
story.
Yes. Maybe I'll, like, learn to like Elsa then.
Do you have anything that you remember of, like, when you saw the movie? Like, is there, like, something that kind of stood out to you, like, you as like a human? Because my thing, like, I'll give you an example. When we went to see it, Stephanie and I, it was my second time. It was late, and it was just a lot was happening. And we, like, danced out of the theater to the Panic at the Disco version of Into the Unknown. And I don't think that I will ever forget that, like, forever, as long as I live, ever. It was the most fun.
It was.
And I don't think anybody else was left in there. It was very fun.
I enjoyed going to see it so late because Cameron and I were the only ones in the theater, and it was, like, a private screening, and we could, like, have a running commentary going, and, like, when it was over during the credits, we just, like, sat there and, like, just talked about, like, everything that we thought about it. It was really nice.
I have good memories related to the first time I saw it because I just went by myself and kind of took myself on a date and got some popcorn and a soda.
I love that.
There was just a father and a young daughter in the theater. Like, they were the only other people in the theater, so it was just very sweet, and I kind of felt creepy because it was just them and then me, like, sitting a couple rows back. But it was good, and I enjoyed. There was, like, they didn't talk, like, at all, which was very surprising for a young child to not ask questions or talk during the movie. And I was able to, like, fully be immersed in the movie and not have people, like, chattering around me or anything like that, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I went to see it the first time by myself, and I felt like that was okay because, you know, like, Elsa's on this journey, like, semi by herself and on, like, self-discovery, and I was like, okay, but I really miss my sister. So then I went to see it again with my sister, and that was really special because, you know, I love her. And then I went to see it with Rachel, who's, like, my unbiological sister, and got to share it with friends because it's also a movie about friendship and caring for other people, and it's just special every time you watch it. But especially when you watch it with people you love.
This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed breaking down this movie and all of us sharing our opinions, which kind of were different for a lot of things. So I think that's cool to get different perspectives and see what different people got out of the movie, like because we're all different. And I definitely want to do this for more movies in the future. Like, I think we said we watched Onward the other day, so I think we might do an Onward breakdown, which I think will be cool. If there's a movie that you guys would like to hear us break down like this, send us an email at spillingthemadtea@gmail.com.
Join us on our Facebook group at Spilling the Mad Tea Podcast, and like us on Facebook at Spilling the Mad Tea.
You can also, what do you do on Twitter? I guess you follow us on Twitter. We are Spilling Mad Tea there if you so wish and feel so inclined to tweet at us.
We'll probably be putting some Instagram story polls up after this episode comes out, so you can go and let us know if you love or hate Lost in the Woods over at Spilling the Mad Tea.
And also, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe on your podcast platforms, and leave us a review. Tell us if you like us, but don't tell us if you hate us.
Also, send us an email telling us how much you love Lost in the Woods at spillingthemadtea@gmail.com.
She already did the email, yo.
She did?
It's fine. We can have 2 email shout-outs. We don't get any emails, so we got to reiterate that.
My bad.
Thanks for joining us on this Frozen deep dive. What's the word? Dive down deep into her sound, but not too far or you'll be drowned. We didn't get drowned, so
Well, that's good.
we went just far enough, you guys.
Lovely.
That was stupid. Bye.
Bye.